All right, welcome to the Canucks Chatter podcast, episode 2. I'm Rafal. I'm joined by Victor. Just very recently, the season, or regular season rather, just wrapped up for the Vancouver Canucks. A loss to the Winnipeg Jets in pretty much meaningless game. What would you say?
Yep, pretty much. When you rest four players and go with the backups as expected, both teams went with their backups. Ended up pretty decent game, but like both teams had very little to play for, and still, which sometimes puts on entertaining games. Which it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Wait a second. I think Demko played? Did he not?
Yeah, he played and
Yeah.
he was very solid. He made a lot of big saves, so I got no concerns going with him going into the playoffs. It still is scary coming back from injury always, but you never know what's going to happen. But at least his game looks very good right now in the two games that he played.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think if anyone was worried about coming back from injury, I think the last two games can kind of pretty much put everyone at ease. He made some big saves, like you said. So pretty much it's we know what's happening. Canucks are facing the Nashville Predators.
Yeah, that Tuesday game against Calgary, he looked really good. Faced 40 shots and really only let in the one goal, which he didn't have much of a chance. And he looks like the Demko that we're all used to. Do you have any concerns about with what he's doing?
No, I mean I don't think so at all. I think there's a little bit of concern, maybe like okay, he comes back from injury, he only has 2 games to go. What if he would have had two poor games, then maybe there'd be a little bit of concern, but I think that was put to bed with the two performances he gave in the last 2 games. Made a ton of saves, looked like himself. Yeah, no worries here.
That game against Calgary, it looked like the Canucks throughout the whole year where they were contributing on offense and just shutting down and not letting any chances. And when there were chances, Demko was there. He didn't really have to make any grade A saves in that game either. And they really showed like they were the team that we've seen all year. Could get a little bit more scoring, but that's nitpicking. But
Mm.
defensively, and they got their structure back. It was nice to see. What did you think of that game?
The Calgary game or the Winnipeg game that just happened?
Yes, Calgary game.
Calgary game. Yeah. I mean, I agree with all that. I think Canucks were just the better team. I think Calgary's in a tough spot for what they're kind of going through. I thought today's game was a little different. I think Demko had to make some much bigger saves. I mean, there was some kind of cross crease plays where he came across and made a great save. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's a point that you definitely don't have to worry about. Is there any aspect of the team, from the forward or the offense or defense or just overall that you are worried about, or are you feeling pretty good about all aspects of their game?
I'm pretty good with the team that, especially the new Vamp third line with Lindholm, Joshua, and Garland. They have looked really good since they were put together. Or Lindholm's looking very good again. He's creating offense again, being a good shutdown player. That line's working really well right now. Giving them 3 good lines, especially when Pettersson is on his game too. When Pettersson's shooting and creating, that's 3 tough lines you gotta go through this team. And then with Demko in net, you never know. This team is going to be really tough out for anyone to beat.
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to be easy for anybody, and I think for anybody who thought that maybe they were a team that was just had a great start or anything like that, I think that they're not. I think people could have some worries if they were just like a very good offensive team and they weren't very good defensively and they were beating teams like 6-5 or 5-4, but that's not the case. They play with structure. They're a team that really just kind of plays great defense by forechecking in the offensive zone. Like if you don't give the other team an opportunity to go towards your net, you're playing good defense because you're not giving up much. And I think that's what they do when they're playing at their best. They're getting in deep, getting that cycle going. And as you said, that third line is a big part of that.
And this structure over the has just the structure of this team just has made it so fun to watch, and the results show after the past almost decade where it's been mm, lacking structure and just having the wrong players out there. Where the previous management really hamstrung the team, but the new management, the coaching staff, and the players have all bought in together and making this team really fun to watch and giving us hope and having fun again. And, like this team is might have been the number two seed in the West this year, but I still feel like they're an underdog into this playoffs. It's, no one outside of BC is giving them much of a chance.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've heard of online. I mean, I guess you can read anything online, but of people are saying like, oh, you know what, that Canucks against Predators, it's got upset written all over it, and I'm like, well, it's just not giving the Canucks credit. I guess maybe it's just because there's no recent playoff memory of them, so they don't really know what to expect. Maybe they'll show up in the playoffs and just have a bad outing, but I don't think that's the case. The regular season has kind of showed that they have a good structure, and that should carry on into the playoffs.
I'm 100% behind this underdog theory. I'm okay with it. If the rest of the country and the hockey world isn't behind the Canucks, that's fine. And us here in BC, we'll support our team. We'll play the underdog role, and especially if they go on a big long run all the way to the cup, keep betting against them. And they'll prove the rest of the hockey world wrong.
I think that's honest. I don't know what you think, but I think being in like people counting them out is actually a good thing for them and for their psyche in the locker room. You know what I mean? Like when you're the favorite and everyone picks you and you're this like top dog, I think that kind of can play against you. And we've seen in the NHL in the playoffs where a lot of great regular season teams, just are out in the first round. It's a different kind of mindset. And maybe the Canucks there are like, hey, we've had a great season consistently through 82 games, and now some people are still not convinced. Like maybe that plays in their favor, where they're like, all right, we'll show them, and you kind of maybe you need some of that.
Yeah, there's an old saying: "Ignorance is bliss." Maybe it'll be work out for them. They don't know all this pressure is. Just go out and play, but like they have all year, and just go in, shut them down, score a few goals. Next thing you know, second round.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's hope that's what happens. It's the beauty of the playoffs, though. You never know. And um, so you wanted to talk about some awards, right? To give
Yeah,
up to the
yeah.
team.
Let's wrap up the regular season. Canucks team awards. MVP and most exciting player was JT Miller. Myself, I disagree with the fans voting on this one
So you think it's
of letting
Hughes?
Miller winning. I thought Quinn Hughes should have won
Yeah.
both. Without Quinn Hughes, I don't know where this team would have been. And all of Hughes's moves dangling in all three zones. It's definitely more exciting. Not that JT Miller didn't deserve it. Yes, he scored the most points on the team. He was exciting when he's barreling down the wing and making his moves. But Quinn Hughes is just something that's a rare specimen in this league, and I thought he deserved to win both awards. What do you think?
Uh, I I thought it was close, but I do agree with you. I thought it was Quinn Hughes, just basically for all the things you said. I mean, it's tough to have a defenseman put up those kind of numbers and play those top. You're trying to shut down the other team's top line night in, night out, and he's been doing that. And like you said, other than like him, Makar, Yossi, like there's not many players who can kind of walk that blue line and you know catch a defender and just kind of pull away from them and have that open lane to shoot. Yeah, he was great.
And it's not just his offense too; his defense, where he'll just do a little thing, he'll lift your stick or just angle a checker off, gets the puck, and then he skates himself out of trouble. Makes the good first pass, and that's, if it wasn't for him, that JT Miller might not get 100 points because without Hughes starting the rush.
Yeah, 100%. It's yeah, I think it's when you're just so skilled, like Quinn Hughes is, it's like you have that hockey IQ, want to lift the stick because he's not a big guy, but if you play smart and you can see the ice in a specific way that most players can't, I mean, like that's what people were talking about. I think it was Patrick Kane. It's like, oh, he's a small guy. He's going to get hit a lot when he came into the league, but he rarely gets hit. It's just you just have this vision of the ice, and there's a lot of guys like that. But yeah, there's not many better than Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys with more tools than him, but don't see the game the same way.
Mm.
Even with low hockey IQ, and that makes the difference between a good average or good defenseman to a superstar defenseman like he is.
Yeah. Quick pop quiz or not pop quiz. Quick question: if you were starting a team and you had to pick between Luke Hughes, Jack Hughes, or Quinn Hughes, who are you picking?
Uh, I'm picking Quinn Hughes as a Canucks fan who's never seen a defenseman of this caliber for the team. Mm, I kind of like having a defenseman who can control a play like that. I've seen the Canucks have great centers. I've
Hmm.
seen the Canucks have good two-way, but nothing this dominant. I would go with Quinn, Jack, and then Luke.
Quinn, Jack. Okay, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, we've seen Luke Hughes we've had Dan Hamhuis, TSO, Ed
Mm.
Jovanovski, very similar ilk players. We haven't had a Quinn Hughes. With Jack Hughes, we've had the Kesslers, the Sedins, the Lindens.
All right. No, I agree with that. I think so too. I mean, they say defense wins championships, and to get a number one defenseman, that is so hard. So I would probably. That's close. I mean, Jack Hughes is a hell of a player too, but
Yeah,
yeah, I'll give the edge to the Quinn Hughes as well.
yeah. Thank you, Montreal, Detroit, and Arizona for skipping him in the draft that year.
Yeah, yeah. So what other awards you wanted to get to?
Best defenseman. We've already sang the praises
Yeah,
of Quinn Hughes. There was no other choice. This was he. It wasn't just won by default. He won it after the
yeah,
first game of the year.
yeah.
Unsung hero. A little bit of controversy here. Dakota Joshua won it for the second straight year. Here, how can you win an award called Unsung Hero 2 years in a row? You kind of sung when you won it the first year.
Right.
My
So you're
choice would
already a
have been
hero.
yeah, would have been Nils Hoglander.
Ooh,
25
yeah,
goals with 0 on the power play. Not too many people who can do that.
yeah. Oh yeah. I never thought about that. That is much closer. Um, yeah, 25 goals, no power play, and I don't know if they were expecting that from Hoglander this year to take that kind of a big of a step. Yeah, I'd probably give it to him too.
Yeah, consider he started the year on the fourth line as well.
Right, he did. Ah, what is
Yeah,
what is we're just agreeing
worked
with
his
each
way
other
up.
left, right, and center here.
Yeah. Maybe
No
for
controversy. No controversy
other
yet.
sake, uh, someone who I thought did not. My other choice would have been Noah Juleson.
Oh, Jolson, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't play the whole year, but when he struggled to start the year, but then when they had a little bit of injury troubles with Carson Soucy missing time, Myers missing Cole, well, he stepped up his game and looked really solid as a third pair, maybe even a low end second pair. His time on the penalty kill was great, but that man blocked shots with no fear.
Yeah. So he's definitely going to be in the playoff uh picture come Sunday. I believe that's when the first game of the Canucks'
Yeah,
postseason begins.
yeah. I don't think that good news is he. That news is I don't think he will play, but if he does it will. Yeah, he can just slide right in. As he seems to be a plug and play kind of person right now. Oh,
Mhm.
he's proven to be an NHLer this year.
Yeah, and I mean, like, just even if he isn't in the roster in game one, doesn't mean that he's not going to be in the series or maybe possibly play a factor in it. So,
Yeah,
all depends how things
'cause-
go, I guess.
yeah. I don't remember a team ever having six defensemen last through all four rounds of the playoffs.
No, that's you need depth on the back end. Like, there's injuries, there's just games where someone's gonna have a night off, and you need more than six. You need seven, eight, at least.
Yeah, and that's what the Canucks do have with Friedman and Juleson as your 7 and 8. Eight, they're they can just plug into that third line, just move up someone out onto into the top four works as well. So the depth has been a lot better this year than previous years for sure.
Right. All right. Any other awards you want to get to before
No,
we look at the playoffs here?
that's about it. And I think that's a good wrap on the regular season.
Yeah.
With that said, I do think Quinn Hughes should be first ever Norris Trophy winner for the Canucks.
Yeah. Agreed for sure. He's had the best year out of all defensemen. I don't think. I mean, definitely there's a debate. Who the best defenseman in the NHL is. Probably still
He's
is Makar, but who's had the better year? It's been Quinn Hughes.
yeah, yeah, it's very close between those two, and along with Miro Heiskanen.
Yeah,
But I think
Heiskanen's
you got to
great.
give this here to Quinn. Although I'm going to give props to Cale Makar for helping me win my hockey pool this year.
Yeah. Okay. How much
Couldn't have
money did
won
you
it
did you
without
get
him.
on it?
Right?
Did you win any money on the pool?
Yeah, $200.
$200. Oh man. All right.
Yeah,
That's pretty good. You'll okay. So we're good on that. So what do you think? Get started on the playoffs here?
yeah. Let's preview these playoffs. Dozen years, almost a dozen years waiting for this.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. I think I just been listening to a couple of other shows and just a lot of optimism, a lot of excitement. And Nashville Predators, interesting matchup. So I think let me pull this up here. Since here we go. So Nashville, since the All-Star break, has gone 21-7-3. So they've been a pretty good team for the last little bit. Um, if I was to kind of break down the teams against each other, goaltending, I'd give it to Vancouver. I think UC Saros is a great goalie, but over the last 3 years, but this year, I think Demko's been a better goalie. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't give the complete edge to Vancouver. I think it's very even.
Mm,
And Demko's more positionally sound, not as flashy. Where and he doesn't face as many high quality shots this year. Where Saros seems to have to bail his team out a lot more. Where Demko just has to make the save, and he does, and he gives them that extra confidence. Goaltending, I would at least with starting goaltending, it's even, but Casey DeSmith and will definitely be better option than Kevin Lankinen is for Nashville. If we're going by double position, Vancouver definitely has the advantage there.
right. Yeah. I mean, if you take a look at I mean, no disrespect to Colton Sissons, but he's their second line center. Like that doesn't really scream fear into you. You know what I mean? Like top line center Ryan O'Reilly. He's a great shutdown guy. But at the top end, Canucks have the stars compared to Nashville, right?
Yeah,
Like the offensive
yeah,
edge is there. We know that.
yeah. Shutting down that top line of Nashville, well, then it really gets difficult for them to score.
Exactly. Yeah. You got Jason Zucker. I mean, he's a good offensive player.
But it's not the same
Beauvillier.
Jason Zucker that we've seen.
No,
We saw
it's
what
not.
Pavillier did this year.
No, their offense is just not comparable to
Yeah,
to the Canucks. The interesting thing though is so we'll get to special teams in a second, but just 5-on-5, Nashville actually creates one of the most offense on 5-on-5, which is kind of surprising. You know?
yeah, just because they don't have to rely on the skill guys as much, and they can just play that team game, especially when they have Roman Yossi creating offense out of the back, and again Tyson Berry, two very good offensive players.
Hmm.
So they don't have to rely on special teams as much as other teams do. Like Vancouver, for example, has has a big advantage on the power play, and you don't want to put them on the power play despite their struggles of late, where they don't have to rely just on 5-on-5. Yeah, playoffs is all about 5-on-5, which is a bit scary, but still having Vancouver's three quality lines compared to maybe 1.5 lines that Nashville has. And yeah, their checking is better as a whole is probably a little bit better than Vancouver players as in a whole as a checking lineup, but they play a very good team game. But Vancouver just is able to create so much offense with their top six, and even that third line, the way it has played for most of the year, where Bluger was between Garland and Joshua, and now with Lindholm, who's a step up. No offense to Bluger, but he's definitely a step up. So having him healthy and now creating offense, it's just wave after wave. It's going to be a big advantage for the Canucks.
Yeah, it will be. And I think special teams are actually pretty huge in the playoffs. And one of the things I mean, the Nashville Predators are bottom third of the league in penalty kill, and I think that's a spot that Vancouver can really, take advantage on. Right? They got the skilled guys. If they can, pot some goals in the power play against a penalty kill that hasn't been very good, I think that's a huge advantage for Vancouver.
Yeah, if the Canucks can get back to their early season power play they form, that will really force Nashville to be careful not to take any penalties. Since the All Star break, the Canucks have had one of the worst power plays in the league. But man, when we've seen it firing on all cylinders like they did a few games ago, that'll be great again. Just seeing whether it's JT Miller coming down the wing and setting up Pedersen or Hughes dangling, looking for someone in the bumper slot. It's just so many ways they can score. So if they just this is from an armchair quarterback, maybe just keep it simple again and just make one or two plays, look for the open guy and just shoot, or just put the puck on net. Anything happens.
Yeah, get those playoff goals. Just you're not going to get those pretty ones all the time. You got to get people crashing in front of the net and bang some home, right?
I can't just sit on one wing the whole time and not go into a traffic areas in the playoffs. Being just sitting on the perimeter doesn't work in the playoffs. We know that the refs are going to swallow their refs and swallow the whistles and not call as much anymore.
Right.
Which I disagree with. I wish that you would call the regular season the same way in the playoffs as well.
I've actually been paying attention to that, and actually, the statistics have showed that there's more penalties called in the playoffs than there is the regular season. But I also think the physicality and the aggression is way higher, so that probably just accounts for those more penalties, right?
Was it like a lot of offsetting penalties, or like both going off for roughing, both going off for cross checking
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
things?
I'm assuming
But
so. I didn't check into that, but I
yeah,
think that's got to play into it why there's more penalties called.
yeah, yeah. Because I've seen many games where a guy gets tripped up and it's a no call.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, now that you bring that up, it's going to be interesting to see because I think the first game of the series is really going to set the standard for how penalties are going to be called, right? And it's so different between series. If I'm just thinking of the last couple of years that I've watched. I would watch one series. I think it was a couple of years ago. It was that Boston Florida series or the Toronto Tampa series. Like they were just going at each other. Like there was, you know, they were just going no holds barred at each other, and penalties weren't called. And then you'd watch another series, and then they'd call it quite aggressively. So like you don't know which end you're gonna get. So they'll find out game one, and then you have to adjust like as quick as possible.
I want to be called like the regular season. I don't want teams to get away with being super physical and cross
Mm.
checks and tackling people. Oh, I want called like the regular season where the ticky tack fouls gets called as well. Well, just keep it the same game because I want to see the best players doing their offensive thing. I don't want to see them get tackled and by the Stanley Cup comes around and both teams are playing. Every player on both teams are playing on one leg and one shoulder. Or I want them
Yeah,
in prime condition.
I think that
No,
was
that's not
Florida
best.
last year. That was Florida last year. They were they
Yeah,
were such a physical team by the final. They had nothing left. I don't know. I like the physicalness. I don't. I think it makes it exciting, but I do, kind of. I agree in part. I like it physical. I like it. Like I want them to call a penalty. Whatever is supposed to be a
yeah,
penalty should be a penalty.
yeah,
I feel like just after the whistle stuff, maybe loosen it up a little bit,
yeah,
not call every little rough, but when it comes to tripping, interference, all that stuff, you got to call it like it is. I
yeah,
think. I don't know. That's my opinion, but
yeah. Like one of the most controversial penalties is the one where you slash the hand, you just tap the hands. They always
right,
call that in the regular season, but somehow they don't call it in the playoffs. Even though I hate that rule, if you're gonna call it in the regular
right.
season, call it in the playoffs too.
That's true. Yeah, it's just
Uh,
I think what they want is consistency, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. Like, ref, NHL refs are some of the best in sport, even though they still miss so many calls and it's so frustrating. Like I don't know what it is with it's just reffing in general with all sports. It just seems reffing has it's a hard job, but
Mm.
it seems to get worse and worse each year.
Well, I think even in hockey too, just how fast it is. Like sometimes I'm surprised. I'm like, how do they even see what's going on? Like everything's there's so many things happening, but they're trying to do it. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in game one and see how it's called because
Yeah,
it should be consistent from them.
yeah, yeah. I will be there, and it's going to be loud. I know that.
Yeah,
From from ge- from pretty much before the game started, I know that building is going to be loud and raucous. We ha- we haven't been in that building for a playoff game since 2015. And
yeah,
Connor Bedard was a preteen at that time. Now he's an adultish. So that white towels are going to be waving things,
yeah.
and especially if the Canucks get on the scoreboard first. Ooh, that building is going to be electric.
It's gonna be exciting. I'm super jealous that you're gonna be there. I think that you sent me a ticket. I'm gonna check my mailbox after if you sent me my ticket there. No.
I don't think my seatmate would be too happy about that.
Yeah, no. No, you enjoy. Well, so you just going to game one, right? Any other games you
Yeah.
going to? Yeah, just game one.
Well, game in the first. I can't remember which. I'll have tickets for game for the each one for each series, but
Right.
not sure which game. But one game at a time right now, as the old cliche goes.
Yeah. Stay in the moment, enjoy it. Game one, I think, is one of the better games to go to. Everyone's just so excited.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's something we haven't had in a while, and it's good to have it back.
Yeah, I think the fan base is sort of like, because it's been, good amount of years since the Canucks have been in the playoffs. There's a lot of optimism. There's not a lot of fear. Like if you're a team that's making the playoffs consistently and there's some heartache, you're like, oh, you're worried. But I don't feel that sense from most Canucks fans. They're not worried. They're excited, and that's a
Yeah, the
good space to be in.
heartbreak will come later. We've gone
Yeah,
through 54 years of it, so
yeah,
ho- oh, hopefully, there was the last time a team had not won the cup in 54 years was the New York Rangers in
right,
1994. So
yeah,
hopefully, 54 about 20 years later, no more than 20 years, 30 years later, or hopefully there's a team with a 54-year drought breaks that seal again.
yeah. Yes, want to see some more Canadian teams advance further.
I do not agree
Uh,
with that sentiment.
no,
I will
no, maybe just
never
you.
agree with that.
I
Uh,
want to see more
the
Canadian teams.
the other six teams, I could care less. They're just like every other team. I do not want to see them win. Don't a Canadian team does nothing for me. With
I want to see a Canadian team.
yeah, that they they don't represent Canada. They represent their city.
Uh, all right, we can
So
agree to disagree.
if a Canadian team has 22 Americans and Europeans, and an American team has 22 Canadians, who's more Canadian?
So the Vancouver Americans are going to start game one then, or
Hey, Canucks barely have. They don't have
yeah,
that
they
many
don't.
Canadians on their team.
No, they have very little. Um, okay, anything else you want to kind of talk about for the playoff series? We have what would you give the percentage of you know
I'm going to go 70-30 for Vancouver.
70-30? Okay, that's pretty big. I'm feeling less than that. I'm feeling like a 60-40. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be I'm going to be optimistic and go Canucks in five. The depth is just going to be whelm Nashville too much.
Canucks in five. That's a bold one. I think Nashville's going to do. I think they're going to surprise some people. I think they're going to do better than that. I still see the Canucks on top. If I had to give it games, I'm going to say Canucks in. Ooh, I'm tempted to. I'd probably stay with six. I'm almost tempted to say seven just to make it interesting.
Yeah,
But
I think
yeah, I'll say six.
yeah, I think it's going to be a close series. I'm not saying Vancouver's going to win 5-1 every single game,
Yeah,
but it's going to be like a 2-1, 3-2, and Canucks just get the right bounce.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, like, look, they're the better team, right? Like statistics wise, on paper, so they should win, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, anything could happen,
Yeah. Not bad for a team who I thought would be these two teams would be competing for a wild card spot.
Right?
And
Yeah.
who knew at the beginning of the year? I don't know who would have thought that Vancouver would be the number one seed in the Pacific Division.
Yeah. No, I don't think many people expected that. I certainly did not. Okay, so interesting thing. I'm just looking at the scores right now because we're doing this while we're recording. So it's 3-1 for the Anaheim Ducks over the Golden Knights. So they're going to lose. LA is up 3-1. So if I look at the standings, that would put LA at 99 points, Vegas at 98 if things continue the way they are. So it would be Vegas is going to go to a wild card spot.
They play Dallas.
And play Dallas, and then LA would face Edmonton.
Yeah, LA doesn't seem to match up well with Edmonton.
No.
Where Vegas matches up well with Edmonton.
Yeah. But I mean, if not, you'd face Dallas. I don't think you feel that great about that either. So, if you're LA, you're facing Dallas or Edmonton. You're not. There's no.
I would prefer Vegas facing Edmonton. Just to
get those two guys out of the way. No, I mean for Vancouver,
let them beat each other up.
Yeah, for Vancouver. But I think just in general, I'm like, I want to see some good teams move on.
I don't.
No.
I want the easiest path possible for Vancouver. I don't care if people say they got the easy path. Could care less.
No, I mean nobody. If you win a Stanley Cup, nobody cares how you got there. You won the Stanley Cup, you know. Okay, so that'll be basically all the series are set. Yeah. Well, I mean, this game's that we'll see what happens. There's still some time left, but
Vegas is still playing Anaheim. Anaheim is not very good.
And there's 6 minutes left in the game, 3-1, so anything's possible. But yeah. And then
a team is playing a bad team. It's not over until it's over.
Well, yeah, especially a team like Anaheim. I mean, their goal differential is just absolutely horrible.
Yeah,
they're not a good hockey team.
Earlier this year, Dallas was down 2-1 with less than a minute left and won the game.
Yeah,
I think it was like 20 seconds left in the game. They scored 2 goals.
Was it against Anaheim or?
I think it was Nashville they beat.
Nashville, okay. Yeah, that's weird because Nashville was, they weren't even in a playoff spot until this, run since January.
They missed that U2 concert, and that's ever since that concert, they've been on a roll. Maybe more teams should miss a concert.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too because I swear I remember reading the narrative and everyone's like, "Oh, this is terrible. How could the coach do that?" Like they had a scheduled thing and like that's a low blow, and then like, oh well, maybe maybe it's not because they're doing pretty darn good since then.
Yeah. So with we've done a preview of the Vancouver or Nashville series. What are your predictions to make? It's premature. Who do you have for the Stanley Cup Finals this year? Or would it be Stanley Cup Final?
I guess it would be final, right?
Or finals.
They say finals, right? Yeah. Either works, I guess.
It could be a final.
Yeah, it is a final. I'm gonna say both work. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pull out. Man, I don't know. I see Florida making it. They're just too good. I mean, they kind of had a rough, last 2 weeks. Maybe they weren't doing so well, but like their team is just so good. I can see them in the finals. On the Western side, I don't know. I find it a little more like ambiguous. I'm not sure. Like Dallas is really good, but I still have. I don't know why. They're winning the conference, but I still have some question marks for Dallas.
They're so deep.
They are deep, though. I know.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Okay. Great plug. I might have to say Dallas. Like, I don't know about Vegas. I mean, they're going to get Mark Stone back, but
surprised.
Big. I'm shocked.
He healed from a career-ending injury.
Yeah, that spleen just healed right up, right in time.
Yeah, I'm not doubting the injury. I know.
No. He got injured for sure.
Absolutely hurt.
But his comeback date is a little,
Yeah, and he should win the Masterton for that career-ending injury they said he had.
3 years in a row. I mean, there was like I think people had it like there was I was going up on Twitter where they just had like the LTIR every year.
Yeah,
It's like 2022, 2023, 2024. It's like almost exact same dates. Gets injured in February,
yeah,
comes back in the playoffs. February, like every year, it's the same time. It's
yeah.
that's something fishy
Keeps
going
coming
on there.
back from these career-ending injuries.
Yeah. Well,
Him and
listen, I guess he's
him
not
and
breaking any
Kucherov.
rules. Yeah,
No,
Kucherov as well.
yeah. Hey, I have no issues with them doing that because if my team was in that situation, I would want them to do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, any team can do it, so
Yeah,
well,
yeah. I think my Stanley Cup final is going to be the old Hartford Whalers, the Carolina Hurricanes, against. I'm going to be a homer, and they're going to play the Canucks in the finals.
Canucks, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see the Canucks make it, but I just don't see it. But hey, you know what? It's the playoffs. Anything can happen.
I
I'm
live
sure
my
there's going
life
to be
through
surprises.
I have rose-colored glasses on. On.
You see the
I
sunny
will choose the
side.
Canucks. Because
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't cheer for another team making it to the finals. I don't care. I don't care if the Canucks said what any year, even if they're the 8th seed or under 500, I'm still picking to win Stanley Cup Finals.
You're going to stick to your guns. I respect it. I respect
That's
it.
my heart. I even though I'll have teams that I think with my head, but I refuse to see it that way. I'm a dumb homer. I will.
Hey man, you know what? I think to be more positive is a good thing. I can use some of that, but I think I'm not bred like that, so I don't see it. But who
I've lived
knows?
through 54 years of disappointment, and I still see this.
Yeah. Well,
I haven't been
I
alive for 54 years, but the team has.
yeah yeah. Well, we'll see. I think this is the start of Canucks kind of getting a run to the postseason. Hopefully it just it's the beginning and they keep having cracks at it. And
If they win the cup this year, I could care less what happens for the next 54 years.
yeah, that's true. They don't even need to make the playoffs anymore.
Yeah.
Um, before we do wrap it up, I did want to just quickly touch on the Arizona Coyotes played their last game last night. Sad to see him go. I think,
RIP.
yeah, it sucks, but I mean, like, I think they did everything they could, right? Like, there was just
Yeah.
bad news after bad news. Like, it wasn't, and they
Yeah.
can't keep playing in that arena. But it sucks because there was some kids growing up there might not begin to play hockey because of that, and one of the best goal
Yeah.
scorers in the NHL is from there, right? So,
Yeah.
and Austin Matthews.
I feel bad for the fans, the players, the staff, but not for the owner. The ownership groups just keep letting the community be down.
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe hopefully they'll get a fan base in Salt Lake City, the Utah Hockey Club,
Yeah.
because they probably won't have a name for the first year apparently. So hopefully that the Utah Hockey Club will be able to get
Wait, they're not gonna
fans
have a
and
name or what?
yeah, there's talk that they might not have a name for the first season. They did put down a few trademarks for the name, but
Right,
they
I
haven't
saw that.
decided on it yet.
Oh, they have to have a name. You can't just be Utah. That's lame.
That's what they were
Super
talking
lame.
about. It the owner himself had put it out there.
Yeah. No, they
Ryan
gotta have a
Smith,
name.
not that Ryan Smith, but the other Ryan Smith.
Yeah.
I saw someone put out a good name, the Utah Phoenix.
The Utah Phoenix. Or just Utah. Yeah. Utah Coyotes.
I I
No,
would be
that's
down with the Utah Phoenix. That would really be rubbing it in their face.
yeah. No, they can't do that. Oh, we'll see. I mean, I'm curious to see their jersey in the arena and all that stuff. But I think the owner right now for Arizona, he still has a 5-year window to try to bring the team back. So, but they need to have a fully built arena that fits the standards of the NHL. So they got the work cut out for them. They got to get
Yeah,
started right now.
I'd be okay if they brought him back, not with that owner though.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, we'll
care.
see.
Yeah, somebody else in that community should step up, help build a building or whatever. Like Phoenix has
Yeah.
shown that they can support hockey, but they're a lot like that movie Major League, where the owner did everything possible to mess up the team, and that's exactly what they've done.
Right. Yeah. I guess we'll all see how it goes and what happens if they ever come back next year. It'll be the Utah something, I hope. Yeah. Anything else?
The Utah hip hop,
The Utah hip hop. Yeah, no.
just like the Utah Jazz. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Utah hip hop, Utah R&B.
Yeah, it's hard with names. I think it's hard. Like even when the Seattle Kraken came out, I was like, Kraken. I don't know if that's like a good NHL team, but
I wanted the
it's
Sasquatch.
the Sasquatch. I don't know. It's hard because sometimes you hear names and they almost seem like a junior team, and I don't want an NHL team to sound like a junior team. So, we'll see. At the end of the day, we'll get used to it and
Yeah,
it'll
and no
flow.
one cares that once you name it. You can name it whatever. The
Once you,
Utah
yeah,
jellyfish, and then
yeah,
they'll
it could
just
be
roll
something
off.
weird. And then once you see them in uniform and they play a game, then it's just normal. You just forget all about it, or I do
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Imagine being called the Utah Gooey Ducks.
Ooh. Yeah, maybe not that one. I don't know if I get used to that one. All right. Anything else you want to get off before we wrap up the show here?
Go Canucks, go!
Go Canucks, go! First game Sunday, game 1 against the Nashville Predators. We'll be on at some point after that game, maybe game 2. We'll see what happens. Till next time, though. Thanks for tuning in.